Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful. I am your melanated queen, and I just wanted to let you know everyone know that heute ist Sonntag. Das Wetter ist sehr schön. The weather is very pretty. Today is Sunday. And so let's get into a topic that is going on that's affecting us all right now. I know I addressed you all yesterday with one of my videos, but I wanted to address you again because when we last left off, we were discussing the riots that have taken place nationwide. I'm going to be honest, out here in the city where I dwell, I was not even aware that there was a riot taking place. We've been just basically traveling freely out here, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But there was an alleged riot that took place downtown, or on the western part of town, as I had read. I was not privy to that information until I went online to see that. So that lets you know how certain things are fabricated in the media. Nonetheless, let's get into George Soros, you all. On the last video, we spoke about protesters being paid to actually orchestrate these protests and to actually organize the protests. Now, I find it very ironic, don't you think? Okay, shout out to Alanis Morissette, that everyone had these orchestrated protests. There was one in Fayetteville, North Carolina, 5 p.m. There was another one in Philadelphia. There was another one, of course, in Minnesota. We know why. I think there was some protests out in California. So basically, like I said, these protests have been nationwide. My understanding is that there was one out in Atlanta. I've been seeing tweets all over the internet. And they're a little funny. Somebody tweeted out, "Don't talk about it, walk about it." Let's be honest, you all. Where has walking ever really gotten us? Where did the Million March get us? Okay, answer that question to all the melanated kings out here that used to attend those events. Where did Farrakhan, the con artist, where did Farrakhan lead you all? Nothing against anybody that follows the Nation of Islam, but I am a person and I'm an advocate of action. So I look at a person's actions to see if they coincide with their speech or with what they're saying. And if what they're saying and what they do just does not add up, there's a problem, okay? So just be observative. These things are very common sense issues, everyone. Okay, so as you all are aware, George Soros is known to fund protests. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a brief definition of, when you pull him up, what Google says. Okay, it says George Soros, FBA, is a Hungarian-American billionaire investor. Okay, so let's take note of this. George Soros is a billionaire. Okay, Bill Gates is a billionaire. What does that mean? They have money to fund anything they want done. Okay, the way they word this here is that he's a philanthropist. Okay, what type of philanthropy work has he done? Would it be the funding of these protests and these riots? Because like we just saw in the last video, the protesters stated that he got a check straight from George Soros. As of February 2018, he had a net worth of $8 billion, having donated more than $32 billion to his philanthropic agency. Okay, now let's examine what those philanthropic duties are. Okay, and it says the Open Society. You all, I have no idea what the Open Society is, but we can find out about that right here, right now. Okay, so just a second. My apologies for looking down on the phone. Right here, the Open Society. Here we go, getting it pulled up. Open Society is one of the largest philanthropic organizations in the world. We care about freedom, democracy, and human rights. Is that so? All right, let's click on the Open Society Foundations.org. Okay. It says the Open Society Foundations, founded by George Soros, are the world's largest private funder of independent groups. I wonder what these independent groups consist of. See, they're very vague, okay, in their connotations. They're very vague and ambiguous in their terminology. All right. It says also the world's largest private funder of independent groups working for justice. No justice, no peace, no brutal police. Okay, how many times are you going to do that? Democratic governance and human rights. So as you may or may not be aware, Black Lives Matter was funded by who else? Who else was it funded by? It was not a melanated individual that funded that cause, you all, but yet and still you have people out here going, Black Lives Matter. Yes, Black lives do matter, but what good is it if you're just gonna protest and riot and tear up a neighborhood? Okay, that's not doing anything for you. All right, so it says George Soros opened his first international foundation in Hungary in 1984. Today, the Open Society Foundations support a vast array of projects in more than 120 countries, providing thousands of grants every year through a network of national and regional foundations and offices. Okay, it says the history behind this in 1979, starting to build a more open world. I wonder what does that mean? These are very ambiguous terms here. They allegedly state that George Soros, the founder and chair of the Open Society Foundations, began his philanthropic work in 1979, funding scholarships for Black African university students in South Africa and for Eastern Europeans descendants to study in the West. Today, his foundations fund groups and projects in more than 120 countries. And you know what? It's very interesting how they word this, because he's funding independent situations, all right? Students in South Africa and for East Europe. What interest does he have in South Africa? I would wonder about that, considering the fact that we have protests that go on over here, and now martial law is being implemented, you all. And if you think I'm making that up, I would caution you to look at the clip where they're shooting rubber bullets at the citizens for standing outside on their porch. Okay, they had a flock of military come through there with a tank, and they were yelling at the citizens, go in the house. I mean, just yelling at them like they're in a war zone. And then he was given the command to hit them, and guess what they did? They pull out a gun, and all you saw was bang, 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 and they got hit. Okay, so is this what the protest and the rioting is inciting and inviting into the community in this country? Everybody wants to be on lockdown again. Corona hasn't even really passed through all the way yet, but did we not just hear that it's going to be another wave of the coronavirus? So are they setting the stage? Are they getting us already to stay in the house? You all, like I said, there are a lot of things that people are not aware of and not privy to. That's why I urge and caution you all to do some digging and research. Don't go off of what they're telling you in the media, because we are misled and misinformed, and we're playing right into what they want people to do, and that is incite violence so they can bring in the National Guard and call in the military. And like I have told you a few months ago, the National Guard was called upon, especially when Corona first hit. Okay, and I did receive firsthand knowledge of that information. Okay, I have some notes here on some things that I wanted to go over. So let's see here. I do want to get into let's see. This is a note that I put in here. And this says, some don't realize the devil when it stares them in the face. What do I mean by that? I mean that this could be anybody that you have around you in your so-called circle. A lot of people don't realize the devil when it's staring them in their faces. And this is also, I'm speaking of the media. I'm speaking of politicians. I'm speaking of community leaders. I'm speaking of those that you believe that you can trust, those that you believe that you can call upon, those that you believe have your best interests at heart, but they do not. Those are the people that I'm talking about. Those are devils in disguises. And so we're going to examine some more of this. I do have a PowerPoint slide coming out that I'm going to be introducing to you all, so look out for that. Let's see here. We discussed Operation Mockingbird on the last video, so if you're not really familiar with that, check it out. There are plenty of information out there. There's plenty of information that gives you some guidance on what that consists of. This was It was actually a project that was orchestrated by the CIA many years ago, where they used media and media training, and they've actually infiltrated the media, infiltrated news organizations such as the major networks, so that they can push an agenda and a narrative to the public, and they use your emotions to inflect the type of reaction that they want from you. So just be very cautious and wary of that, because a lot of that is playing out right now. It continues to be the same scenario and the same narrative over and over again. We all are very much aware of racism. It does exist, but just be mindful of how that narrative is orchestrated when it comes to the mainstream media. Okay. Also, let's get into the VMatGene, you all. I'm going to be talking about that as well. Someone pointed that out to me. But what I'm going to do is play a little clip for you, because I don't think we want to get away from what's really taking place here. So I'm going to play this and let you all listen to it. Hopefully this comes in clearly, and I'll try to hold the phone up to the screen. It might be a glare, so you might not be able to see it, but I will post this link in the description as always, okay? And if you're not aware, the VMatGene is something that's being attacked, and they're basically using the coronavirus to do so. So I'm going to let this lady explain to you exactly what this means for all of us.
A lot of y'all know that I kind of have been off YouTube and just put up a few videos here and there. I said I wasn't going to do any more live streaming, so I'm not, because it just takes a lot of time and energy away from
It's not going to show because of the glare, you all.
Today about the God gene. If you don't understand why they are going door to door or using your blood samples to supposedly test you for corona, then you're being, well, all this is a hoax to begin with. Yes, there is a disease called the coronavirus. But if you put two and two together, there has been, and they found this back in the 80s or 90s, there is a gene called VMAT2, and funny or not, it does exist in religious peoples, and just proves the Bible word for word that you were chosen before the foundation of the earth. And just like David said, you were knit together in the womb, fearfully and wonderfully made. And God has put a mark, and it even talks about the mark that he puts or seals on his people in their forehead. This VMAT2 gene is actually visible by MRI in your forehead. So for Christians or God followers that were sealed by God, you actually carry this VMAT2 gene in your DNA. Now, most any virus is usually done by swab, nose or throat. So why do they need your blood to test you to see if you have had the coronavirus or have the coronavirus? I had my son tested just to make sure he didn't have it because he had respiratory issues, and they swabbed his nose. That was it. There is no reason these people should be asking for your blood. Your DNA is a God-given thing. So they're using this, and this goes back to there being no rapture in the last days, that all the Christians would be persecuted. They collect DNA from the time you're born with sticking your heel, telling you that it's a PKU test. There's tons, and they keep this in a data bank. So there's tons of ways in which they try to collect DNA to detect who has this VMAT2 gene. So if you are interested in hearing more, I will go over and I will try to do a thorough video using Bible verses. I don't know if it'll be today, but this coronavirus is just the excuse to get a hold of your DNA to test you to see if you carry the VMAT2 gene. Ultimately, as they are already doing in Canada, they want to go in, remove you from your home, isolate you, and then put you in camps for further persecution. And it does predict all of this in the Bible. There is no such thing as a rapture. That was a Jesuit infiltration that came about in the 1600s to kind of break up the Protestant seriousness.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. She continues on for another 2 minutes and 20 some seconds. But I thought that was very important information to share with you all so that you don't lose sight and don't lose focus of what may be going on behind all of this. Like I said, always look behind the narrative of what they're feeding you. Look at the way that they can infiltrate you. Look at the fact that they're trying to implement martial law. So if you have the military on the streets, the next thing they're in your home, which is why I did a video on the Constitution and the amendments and the Bill of Rights, because all of those are being infringed upon right now as we stand. Okay. And as far as your DNA, yes, people have been under attack for many, many years regarding their DNA. There are many different things that they do with your DNA that you're not privy or aware of. And, you know, it's really messed up, the things that are being done and that takes place within medical facilities that you have not even guaranteed or granted right or permission over. Your DNA is something that is divinely and innately designed for you. It is your right. No one else has a right to strip you of your DNA and use it against you, yet that is being done on a daily basis, and we have no knowledge of it whatsoever. So everyone, I just want to leave you with some positive reinforcements before I depart. I want to say shout out to my melanated queens, shout out to the melanated kings out there, all of the little princes and princesses walk in your divinity, and that is exactly why I state that, is because we are divine beings. Okay, and like I said, they've studied us more than we've studied ourselves, so they know more about us than we know about ourselves. They keep the truth hidden from us, and they infiltrate us with lies. So just be very cautious of that when you're looking at mainstream media. Look behind what the narrative is and push forward, you all. I'm not going to keep this too long. I'm going to wrap it up. I am going to try to think of a German phrase for you all. Let's see here. If I wanted to say I'm hungry, mir ist hungrig. Okay, mir ist hungrig. If I wanted to say I'm tired, ich bin müde. Okay, ich bin müde. All right. So those are just a few little phrases for you. Thank you so much for, rocking out with me today. I will be addressing you later. And I also wanted to say auf Wiedersehen. Okay. Everybody, just goodbye. Juice, and you stay blessed out there. Protect yourselves, and if you are going to riot, get yourselves, some artillery. Get yourself some armor so you can be protected. Like, they're out there, with tanks. They have all types of things. You need to go out there in your artillery and your armor as well. Like I say, bulletproof vests, gas mask, and that's another thing I wanted to touch on really quickly. So they did find out that there was actually, I don't know if he was a CIA agent or if he was a police officer, but he is the one that was known for starting the fire at the Target. Okay, and there's video footage of him breaking the glass. All right, so he really started that whole situation right there. And as the pandemonium continues to arise, they're going to continue to show you the citizens of the country being the rioters and the antagonists. Also, I wanted to say that I was made aware today that Target has filed bankruptcy, from what I was told, and so they were bought out by, I believe it was Google. And so just take notice that they were pushing the narrative that the Targets were rioted, you all. There is video footage going around with people rioting the Targets, and I'm just going to say this: you call them looters, but in all actuality, these companies make millions and billions of dollars off the American citizens. Not only do they mark up their prices by 300%, okay, but they charge you tax on top of that. So anything that was taken, they have insurance on it. They will be okay. So stop with all of this nonsense, okay? These American people have paid tax dollars just like everybody else. They've been taken advantage of by the government as well. So if they get a TV, if they broke into the Apple store and got a few phones, what is the difference? Because these companies have been stealing your DNA, and not just that. On the prior videos, they've been stealing your personal information, okay? So that is nothing. A phone or a towel, blankets, sheets, whatever y'all were taking from Target and all of these places, it's nothing in comparison to what has been taken from you, okay? I'm not advocating for that, but I'm just basically making factual points here. And if you don't believe me, check out the Supreme Court document that was filed on February 26, 2020 by Cyrus A. Parsa. Thank you all so much. Everybody stay well informed and you stay blessed.